I'm curious to know how you get seniors to use a technology platform and even AI. That sounds like it might be frightening to some people. And how are you overcoming that as a barrier?
I'll talk about this from two perspectives. One, within the psychology and psychiatric community, there's actually a very clear divide on how people feel about AI. So first and foremost, some of these newer, what I'll call more accurate replications of human avatars is a cause for concern for a lot of researchers, because particularly, certain groups, so you could look at young children, older seniors with cognitive decline, people experiencing mental health issues, they could form an unhealthy attachment to this particular avatar and think that it is real, right? And so we don't want to do that. So first and foremost, our tool makes use of cartoon avatars to avoid that particular concern. Secondarily, we're very clear throughout the usage that it is not a real person, right? But how we get people to use it is actually what I call two soft pressures. So first and foremost, we sell directly to providers and payers. What that means is that you cannot go on the App Store and just buy Cogensus, right? This has to be assigned to you, so to speak. So it comes from a position of authority. That's the first piece, right? The second part of that is, since we focus on using this engagement to build family memoirs and build and preserve legacy, right? There are user types that are representative of family members or very close people in your life. So friends, relatives, whatever. Those people work with you in the platform. So effectively, and that's a gamified type journey. And gamification is doing a lot of lift in that term there. But what it means is this. You have the doctor over top, effectively incentivizing you to continue to use the tool for your health outcomes, right? Or your health insights, I should say. And then underneath that, pushing upwards, you have the family members who are incentivizing the user to use it so that they can increase their communication and transparency of communication. What that means in very brass tack terms is, as the elderly person, this could be grandma, your mom, brother, sister, whomever, right? As they use the tool, they actually get more interaction with their family members and vice versa, where they would not get that without a tool like this. So we actually use AI in this instance to accelerate human to human communication, which accelerates our usage and adoption. One of the concerns we heard about very early on was, particularly from caregivers and family members who are dealing with someone experiencing cognitive decline or dementia, is a lot of those diseases, someone will get stuck at a period of time, right? They'll be 13 again for that day, or they'll be 42. And so what that means is, when they come in and talk to them, they have no context on how they're approaching the conversation. So by this person using this tool and putting a lot of that information out there for their family members to see, they can get better contextual understanding, which means when they call or when they engage, they know what you were thinking about in a positive way, right? And then that you guys can share that memory together. Versus if I were to call my grandma, who has unfortunately passed away, right? She was 80. Let me see. She passed away at 93. But the last time I talked to her on the phone, truthfully, because everything else was in person, was around 90. So when I call her on the phone, she'd ask me how I was doing. I'd give her a basic update. I'd ask her how she was doing. She'd give me a basic update. And then there was kind of tough to talk about after that, because we're living very different lives, right? But if I knew that she was really about the time when she was a girl in her Connecticut farm talking about her dog or her ducks, right? I could ask about that, where I would never even know to ask about that without that context.
Why did you start Cogensus? What problems are you looking to solve?
I lost one of my grandparents when I was young. I lost him when I was 11. I'm a young relative. But he took care of me a lot when my parents were doing different activities, working, things like that. And I didn't know much about him at the time. I just knew that he fought in World War II. That was the extent of my knowledge. In my late 20s, around 28, I got interested in my family backstory on both sides. And so I started looking. And I discovered about that particular grandpa, he was not just a World War II veteran. He got the Purple Heart. He got a Silver Star. He enrolled when he was 17, lied about his age. And then upon coming back, he actually tried to commit suicide. So that's something that as an adult, I wish I could probe more into all those stories, right? And there was a lot there probably. And I don't have the opportunity, and very few people will ever have that opportunity, because we all just age at different cadences, right? So my logic was that was a shame. And around the world, we're all getting older. So I don't want a lot of that world history to pass away with those people and not allow families the ability to access that. That's one. Two, unfortunately, I have had a number of family members experience dementia, early Alzheimer's, cognitive decline across the board. And it's a horrific disease. And so one of the things that jumps out to me is it's very hard for everyone to have continued bandwidth to deal with someone going through these stages, right? Which is why at some point you traditionally have to move them into memory care because it's really hard and it requires skilled people. And so if there's a way we can create a bridge from the parties during that decline, that's a big one for me. And that was something that we heard echoed amongst so many families when we started this company. So I went out and I surveyed a bunch of people. I surveyed elderly people, who was our core user. I surveyed providers and I surveyed the families. And they all resonated with these three functions that I've talked about. So that's that. And then the last one is loneliness is an ever-pressing concern. It was actually called out by the Surgeon General, I believe, in 2022 as a huge concern, right, for all age brackets. And I personally believe that social media has reneged on its promise of bringing us closer and in many ways pushed us further apart. So it's created these hyper-individualized echo chambers where we get so wrapped up in what's going on with us. It pushes these communication bridges to the breaking point.